Right, so Keir Starmer has just given what is possibly his most bonkers and completely immoral interview to what passes as a British newspaper, but which most of us wouldn't line a litter tray with lest it poison the cat, the Sun, which shall hereafter be referred to by its more accurate moniker of the Scum, because only pond life would choose to associate themselves with that evil Murdoch rag. But Starmer, of course, as we know, absolutely loves kissing up to creepy Uncle Rupert. Starmer talks of having the big balls necessary to slash benefits, of loving a fight, and having had to fight to get where he is today. And of course this hate rag laps it all up. But it would be a shame to expose not only his lies and the fact that only a completely incompetent and impotent weakling that is hung like a gerbil would actually claim it requires big balls to slash benefits, slash the support to the poorest and lowest earners, rather than tax the rich, take on the rich and powerful. Starmer has chosen the way of the weakling, not one of strength. He hasn't got fight in him, he's hiding from it. And actually his big balls have got more of a kicking this week than an appraisal, and all of it self-inflicted and deserved at that. Right, so to describe what Keir Starmer has been coughing up into the public domain by way of claims, allow me to invoke a comparison from a far more credible news source than the Scum, by which I mean Viz Comics, because where Keir Starmer has opined to said Murdoch hate rag and their supposed journalist Harry Cole in a manner where he has basically described himself as Buster Gonad, what he's actually delivered is more in line with something Roger Melly, the man on the telly, might say. Yes, he's done another interview for the Murdoch Scum. They can't get rid of him from Murdoch Towers, it seems. That's their words, not mine. And still he's there, sniffing around, looking for an opportunity to talk to people who hate him. If they read this rag, still hasn't dawned on him that, I don't think. But equally, hate benefit claimants too, though. Work-shy shirkers who want something for nothing, who could buy a house if they gave up drinking coffee, and who have to lift their arms up every time they step up the curb lest they bruise their knuckles. Well, I've donned sunglasses so you don't have to, for you should never directly look at the sun, and in a piece titled Fighting Words, I've Got the Balls to Take an Axe to Britain's Benefit Bill, We'll Be Ruthless with Cuts If Needed, vows Keir Starmer, let the bragging begin. Starmer is under the impression you need big balls to take on the benefits bill, that somehow it takes guts and courage to punch down on those less fortunate, that he, a multi-millionaire, is doing what is justified and righteous, but politically speaking, this is the easiest trick in the world, isn't it? To attack those who don't fund you, those who you look down on as less productive, those who are in receipt of top-ups to already low wages, and attacks on the long-term sick and disabled, which implies they are somehow worth less than other people are. The benefits bill is what it is. It is symptomatic of the fact that work doesn't pay. And you have an entire generation now who work but can barely make ends meet, let alone fulfill the dream of owning a home or starting a family, who no longer view work as the way to get to that, because they're already working 2 or 3 jobs and getting no work-life balance and no joy out of life because they can't afford to have any. They can't get any around that. Therefore, increasingly, the social contract regarding work is broken, is eroding faster than ever, and instead of answering that fundamental and necessary question, instead of building solutions to that, instead of ensuring work does actually pay, not just so you can get by, but so you can actually live, Starmer talks instead of attacking their meagre incomes once again. With regards to disability benefits, there has already been talk of seizing billions, changing the rules of claiming personal independence payment, ensuring more people get thrown off it, despite that enabling people to get to work if they are disabled, thereby making this a discriminatory move. But again, missing the point of why these people have such health issues to begin with. Many of them are mental health issues, and it's tied to that social contract being broken. And of course, I'm not the only person pointing all of this out, because Keir Starmer has also stated he loves to have a fight, despite not having the wherewithal to punch his way out of a wet paper bag. And we know this because he's shown us. Yes, well, that does speak for itself, really, doesn't it? But equally, it is left-wing, or what few left-wingers in the party under Starmer's authoritarianism, and of course lefties from other parties too, that have been pointing out the flaws of Starmer and Rachel from Account's Tory Cuts thinking. And this was obviously egged on by the odious Cole, who, according to the piece, asked Starmer if he had the stomach or the balls to take on these rotten lefties, those who have been squeamish about cuts for years, to which Starmer said, yes, I love fights. I had to fight to get the leadership of the Labour Party, and I had to fight to win the election. Well, having seen how Starmer fights as we now have, we know that's a lie, but also because he never had to fight to become Labour leader or win the general election, because he lied each time there as well. He promised Labour members he was continuity Corbyn, that the 2019 manifesto of Corbyn's for change, real, meaningful change, was a blueprint to go forwards, but it all got scrapped. And once he became Labour leader, backed by the Israel lobby as he was, he said about proving he was anything but Corbyn instead of very much their man, purging vast swathes of the membership or driving them to leave instead, as he proved to be the opposite of Corbyn. When the mainstream media gave him years of cover over that and avoided criticising him the more unpopular the Tories became, he'd become the establishment's choice by now, of course. The next one they had decided on a sham of a democracy to make PM, and he continues to serve those interests, winning the anyone but the Tories vote as he did. Now he's come under proper scrutiny and power, everybody now hates him. He's come completely exposed. The left for not being what he said he'd be, the right for being seen as a lefty even though he absolutely isn't, and everyone else plus all of the above for being a rampant liar, his manifesto shredded and his leadership and competence highly questionable. The most hated PM in history in the first 100 days in office, and his numbers are still plunging. But let's get some positive news in here, because while Starmer acts like Billy Big Balls over benefit cuts when the reality is far more tinky-winky, Labour have just lost in court over their plans to cut any of it. Yes, in news that came out just 2 days ago, the High Court has found Labour's consultation to slash billions from benefits to be unlawful. The case was brought by disability activist Ellen Clifford, an excerpt from the Big Issues coverage of that reading. In a judgment published this morning, 16th of January, Mr Justice Calver said that the judicial review brought by disability activist Ellen Clifford had surmounted the substantial hurdle of establishing that the consultation was so unfair as to be unlawful. Repeatedly describing the DWP's consultation in autumn 2023 as misleading, rushed and unfair, he said, the consultation documents failed to highlight the substantial loss of the benefits facing those affected by the proposals. The consultation gave the misleading impression that changes were required to ensure deaf and disabled people could access employment support when they could already choose to access this voluntarily. Despite the consultation presenting the changes as being solely about helping disabled people into work, in reality, cost savings was at least one of the two bases, if not the central basis, on which decisions would be taken on which policies would be taken forward by the government. The 8-week consultation was unlawfully short in the circumstances. Yes, by that date you will have realised that was a Tory consultation that Labour was defending in the High Court. Yeah, they're all about change, aren't they? 8 weeks to make decisions that would be life or death to thousands. Average loss of income would be more than £400 a month for the disabled in particular, and with 100,000 disabled people considered highly vulnerable, there was no mitigation for their particular vulnerability. And I'm not going to use that word further, having been told off in the past by Ellen Clifford herself for that. But what this court case has shone a light on is nothing has been learned by Starmer, Reeves, DWP boss Liz Kendall or her team from the DWP, deaths caused by the Tories that they now seeking to defend and carry on going forwards, defending in court, instead of desire to continue with what they did all before seemingly. And Starmer talks of having the big balls needed to do this. Does he have the same fight in him in court, or is it only reserved for the poorest, his own actually left-wing MPs and others like them? But we've seen what fight he's got in him already. The punch bag obviously won. Starmer hasn't got big balls. He's a no balls. A man with shocking delusions of adequacy, supposedly a toolmaker's son, which to some people makes him a tool himself, but he can't be, because he's of no use to anyone, certainly not to those on low incomes and the disabled. He is in fact the human equivalent of a participation award. No thanks for coming, no thanks for trying, just go home. I hope you step on a Lego when you get there. Congratulations to Ellen Clifford on her win. A lot of disabled people and their carers owe you a debt of gratitude for everything you've done here. For more on Labour's plans to slash billions from the disabled, though, they can still go to the Supreme Court from here, I suppose, if they really are determined to keep defending the Tories, determined to keep trying to punch down rather than bringing in an overnight wealth tax, as a for instance, and fix all this nonsense immediately, as that would. Do check out this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss out on new content dropping daily, as well as supporting the channel, which is very much appreciated. And I will hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.